So the WNBA media and their hypocrisy knows no bounds. It knows no bounds. And like, I'll always say this, it's very much one thing when people are doing stuff like this when it's just random Twitter accounts. But it's some of these people having direct relationships with players, some of these people like being employees of teams, former employees of teams. It's just ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. But before we get on to all that, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to hit 40,500 subscribers by Christmas Day. We're only 29 off, and as you guys can see, I'm putting myself through a lot. Like, I'm dying sick, I'm in bed. So we're going to be talking about that here. So anyway, why is Caitlin Clark and Breanna there? New York Liberty and reigning star, or New York Liberty star and reigning champion Breanna signed an unprecedented historic contract with Unrivaled, the salary that puts her in a category of her own. And this all comes from a number that won't beat what they Caitlin Clark. Like, the reality is, it probably wasn't. It's probably really good money. It probably is really good money. But it's highly unlikely to be exactly what they offer Caitlin Clark. I'd say she's on, I think they average out at like 200,000 per player. I'd say she's probably on 500,000-600,000, which is still a good chunk of money if we're being completely honest. And then having equity in the league helps. She probably gets more equity than a lot of other players, and she gets to play. She basically gets to pick who she wants to play with, which is pretty big. But if you guys didn't see, like, we saw the great thing with this journalist who, like, I would barely call her a journalist, but like, she was Storm for a while. So you can see there, it's like she basically said that other players have done more and deserve more in Unrivaled. Well, players deserve more than Caitlin Clark. And I just said, she said Breanna actually deserves more money than Clark. Tickets to watch Breanna's game 5 of the finals were less sought after than Caitlin Clark playing a preseason game, which is the truth. And I genuinely stand by this. I think Angel Reese is a bigger name than Breanna. No, I didn't. You made it sound like that. I was explaining why Breanna deserves that, not why CC doesn't. Other players have done more and deserve priority for larger sums. Like, it's madness. And this person as well, when it was announced that Caitlin Clark was going to get the Messi deal, curious as to how other players would feel. I know everyone will have an ownership share, but I'm not sure that includes a media deal. Truth is, Caitlin Clark's not nearly close to Messi. If Unrivaled stand for fairness, then that's a big mess. Either offer all the players the same contract or be transparent about why some players different than others. Can't possibly imagine how Dejanay Carrington, who was one of the main targets of racism due to rivalry with Caitlin Clark, will feel if Caitlin Clark is rewarded with a 7-figure deal despite multiple players' efforts together to stand by them. Like, what more can Caitlin Clark do according to this person? And again, the issue is that this is not a Twitter troll. This is where the whole issue is, that these are people being employed by WNBA teams in media. These are people being employed in WNBA circles as media. And by the way, like, really hopes Stewie and Fear not taking this lightly, and they are being properly advised. Why it's very important to choose what VC backing your start. At the end of the day, they'll have the final say. And then, you know what, Breanna deserves more money, but it's a big issue with Caitlin Clark because why some Twitter people went to Dejanay Carrington. Like, I can't imagine how Dejanay Carrington feels about that. It's like, I mean, when Caitlin Clark gets paid, if Caitlin Clark gets paid by, I don't know, Panini, she made over $1 million. How does Dejanay feel about that? I think we should ask ourselves every single time we see Caitlin Clark's face anywhere, we need to ask ourselves, how does Dejanay feel? But it's my favorite part about all this is that everything, if you look, all the WNBA stuff from last year, the amount of abuse that Breanna Ionescu got. Like, when Breanna Ionescu got her shoe, they tried to tear her down. When Breanna Ionescu got into 2K cover, they tried to tear her down. When they were in Vegas and someone put a Breanna Ionescu jersey beside like an Aja Wilson jersey or something, and she made a joke. I think she said something in a joking manner, and they turned on her. The reality is that the stuff that they're doing to Caitlin Clark now is what they did to Breanna Ionescu before that. It's never been about fairness. It's never been about fairness. It's never been about Caitlin Clark herself, because Caitlin Clark's done everything you've asked her to do. It's these people in the actual media, and this is where the biggest issue is that these people are in the actual media. their goal is they just want a witch hunt. They literally just want the witch hunt. And that's the reality of the situation, is that there might end up being a new player to witch hunt in a few years. But right now it's Caitlin Clark. Before Caitlin Clark, it was Sabrina Ionescu. And now once the witch hunt is over, you know, they kind of warm up to Sabrina Ionescu. Why? Because she's not Caitlin Clark. And the reality is that, look, I don't know anything about Sabrina Ionescu, the person. But like, Caitlin Clark has said everything that's been asked of her. And I'm not sure even if Sabrina did. And even if she didn't, I don't really care. And that's the problem. Let's ignore these grifters. I feel strongly that they need to be called out, because as the W grows and gets more credibility, these fakers need to go bye-bye. I agree. And that's why I'm making these videos. Is that I stand by this, that these people, like for the WNBA, when the WNBA grows, the stuff that these journalists and people that are actually working in the league are doing is going to be detrimental to the league. And that's just the reality of the situation. I can't believe it took me this long to get blocked by her, though. That is something that's kind of interesting. It's like, does she not realize that none of the contracts Unrivaled are even? The average is 222, but they start at 100k. Yeah. Like, you're acting like Azare Stevens is getting paid the same as Stewie. Obviously not. Obviously not. Like, and to be fair, like, there's no salary cap. If there was no salary cap in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark would be being paid $2 million by the Indiana Fever. And she would be getting offers to play probably for Phoenix for $5 million. She's getting paid 70k. That's the reality situation. And my favourite thing is, like, if Unrivaled stands for fairness, Unrivaled's never stood for fairness. The reality is that these players get equity in the league. It's never going to be about fairness. It's never going to be about, oh, you know, like, the reality is that Sabrina Ionescu being in the league. If Sabrina Ionescu was not in the league would be worth less, because Sabrina is one of the biggest names. The league will be worth less. And the reality of the situation is, with Sabrina Ionescu being there, whatever equity they have in the league becomes worth more. So their salaries are raised, realistically. Or the money they're making in the league is raised. So yeah. Anyway, before I lose the ability to speak, I will double down that it's so important to call out these bad faith journalists, because in my opinion, they're doing nothing but bad stuff for the WNBA. Just because they were there before doesn't mean that they're good. Like, first of all, I've never heard your one Roberta ever mention basketball. She doesn't, I'm not sure she knows the first thing about the sport of basketball. If she does, I'll put my hand up and admit that I'm wrong. But there's just a serious amount of hypocrisy. There's a serious amount of targeting. And there's a serious amount of, like, almost like a club whose job it is to tear down Caitlin Clark because they don't feel like she belongs. The reality is they did the same thing to Sabrina last year. So anyway, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.